Welcome to my video on getting Samba working for Windows 7 and 10 and Ubuntu 16 and 18. Let's get started. For those that don't know, Samba is a background program that allows both file and printer sharing between Linux and Linux computers and between Linux and Windows computers. If you don't already have Samba, of course the first step is to go ahead and get it installed on your Linux machine. Here's a good website on how to install and get the basic configuration up and running. The link for this website is in the description. Following the instructions on this website will give you the current Samba version for your operating Ubuntu platform, in this case 16.4. Please note the initial portion of this video deals with Windows 7 and Ubuntu 16.4 with the listed kernel and Samba version. If you're using different versions other than the ones listed, then you're swimming in uncharted waters. I have only tested the versions you see listed here. I'll be looking at Ubuntu 18 and Windows 10 a little bit later on in the video. Okay, let's run some initial tests and see if what you have is what I have. If you're running something different from what I am, we may be getting different results. Samba is a continuing evolving entity, and sometimes there is a backstep. Open a terminal window and type in SMBD space dash dash version. You should get back 4.311, which is the latest version of Samba. After that, type in hostname CTL space status, and you should get back what I have here. Hopefully everything checks good to this point and really proceed to the next step. Become super user and then change to the etc directory. Use your favorite text editor to edit the host file as I have here, listing all the IP addresses and the computer names that you are using on your network. While I can't say this is absolutely necessary to make Samba work right, it certainly makes things easier, especially when you start working with version 18 and Windows 10, as we'll see a little bit later on. Now it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of configuring Samba from the Ubuntu side. Change your working directory to the etc/Samba directory. Then use your text editor to edit the smb.conf file. In this first group, what I found critical was the NetBIOS name. For me, it always seemed to work best with capital letters and numbers, no symbols. The Win support statement had to be there, and the name resolve order had to be there in the order I have listed to make things work right. There's nothing critical in the second group. I just found out it made troubleshooting things easier if you had a good log file to refer back to. In the third set, server role had to be set to standalone server, and security had to be set to user. This final section sets your share definitions. As you can see, I basically made mine completely open. You'll need to set yours according to your security needs. Okay, after setting up the file shares in the Samba configuration file, now we need to set them up locally in each and every directory that we want to share. Since I'm setting this up to share my desktop, I'm going to go ahead and set that one up as far as the shares locally. Open up your file manager, go to your home directory, then do a right click on desktop. Go to the permissions tab and set the group to Samba share. Set others as you feel appropriate. Set your shares as you wish to set them in your Samba configuration file. After completing all this, close out all windows in your Linux computer and go ahead and shut it down, and we'll proceed to work with a Windows computer. Obviously, if you have other Linux computers you want to set up, you can follow the same procedure to set those other Linux computers up. Several qualifiers here. I have not tested Samba with Ubuntu 17. Everything I'll be discussing in this video regarding Windows should work from all Windows from XP on. I have not specifically tested any of this with Windows 8. The next thing I'll be looking at in this video is setting up the shares in Windows. Open up a Windows File Explorer, navigate to the desktop, right click on the desktop, and select Properties. Select Sharing on the top menu. Select Share and then choose the individuals or groups you want to have access to your shares. Select Share and then click Advanced Sharing. Check Share this folder. Verify your permissions are correct for the people you wish to have sharing your files. Then click OK. Select Apply and then OK as required to get back to the main Windows File Explorer. The next thing I'm going to do in the video is setting up the host and LM host files. I found these files are absolutely essential to make Samba work smoothly. Go to the Windows main menu and locate Notepad. Right-click on Notepad and select Run as Administrator. In Notepad, click File and Open. Navigate to the Windows System32 Drivers etc directory. Under File Type in the lower right, select All Files. I'm going to start with the host file first. You want to click on it, open it up, and then edit it as I have edited it here. The file contents will be the local IP addresses that have been identified in your router, as well as the computer names that have been identified in your router. Make sure you follow the format of leaving at least 3 to 4 spaces between the IP address and the computer name. After you have completed your editing, save the file, close it, then edit the LM host file as I have edited mine here. Save it and close it. You can close out the Windows File Explorer if you wish to. The next thing on the agenda is to enable Windows to use that LM host file we just created. You want to right-click on the network icon in your lower right system tray and then click Open Network and Sharing Center. In the upper left corner, click Change Adapter Settings. Click the network icon that you'll be using with your Samba shares. Click Wireless Properties. Go down to Internet Protocol version 4 and double-click that one. In the next screen, click this Advanced button. In the top menu of this screen, click the Wins tab. Check Enable LM Host Lookup. Leave the default NetBIOS setting in place. Click OK and then close as required. X out the screens, go back to your main desktop screen. Okay, now you want to do a full cold boot on your Windows machine. I recommend you let it come completely back up and then boot your Linux machine, both from a cold boot. After the Linux computer comes up, you should see the 2 computers listed on the Network tab in Windows. If you don't, try to reverse. Boot Linux first, let it come all the way up, and then boot Windows. Samba can be a little finicky sometimes. Sometimes you just have to reboot one or both machines to get it to come up. Once you see the Linux computer in your Windows Network tab, you should be able to double-click on it, and your shares should pop up as mine do here. If you encounter a password screen, remember you need to log in to the Linux computer with the name and the password on that computer. You should be able to double-click on the folder of the share and the files should appear, as I have here. I'm going to create a blank file called New File 1 on the Linux computer. Note that that operation completed without an error. Now I'm going to try to overwrite an existing file on the Linux computer. Note that if I try to do this, it advises me the file exists, but it still won't let me overwrite it, meaning Linux still owns this file and I cannot alter it. Note that Windows treats a locked file in Linux as being open and an unlocked file as being locked. Now let's look at things from the Linux perspective. If you open your file manager in Linux, then click on the Network tab, you should see the computers that have Samba shares. In my case, clicking on Gigabyte gives me all the shares that are on this particular computer. Clicking on an individual share will probably give you this password screen. You want to log in using the credentials you have on the Windows computer. After clicking Connect, you should now see the files are in that particular shared folder. Here's what you need to change to get Samba to work with Windows 10. Note that there are 3 new statements and the name resolve order statement has changed. In the second group, note that a Win server statement has been added. This is the server IP address of the Windows 10 computer. In the case of Ubuntu 18, you must access the Samba shares directly from the address line on your file manager. Version 18 does not support direct icons. You have to use the SMB statement as I've shown here to access your Samba shares. Once you execute this statement, your shares should appear. One special note and warning here. If you're updating your router firmware or you need to reboot your router, your IP addresses will likely have changed. That means you'll need to update your host, LM host, and Samba configuration files if you used Windows 10. Don't forget this because nothing will work if you don't update them. If you're liking what you're seeing, give me a like and consider subscribing. I just might have something else coming down here real soon you're going to want to see. This is the end of the video, but hopefully it's not the last time I see you. Come on back for a visit real soon.